Welcome to Tyson Ranch, a high-end oasis built by one of the most feared men in boxing history. A man who once ruled the ring with pure chaos and power, and somehow turned that same fire into fortune. Today, we step inside this one-of-a-kind empire, exploring his wealth, his world, and the evolution of Iron Mike. So hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on the bell, because this isn't just a story about luxury. It's a story about redemption, power, and reinvention. Brooklyn, 1966. Michael Gerard Tyson was born into a world that didn't wait for him to grow up. His father vanished early. His mother, Lorna, fought just to keep food on the table. By the age of 10, he had been arrested more than 30 times. He was small, quiet, and spoke with a lisp, an easy target for bullies. But when words failed, his fists spoke for him, quick, brutal, and unforgiving. And soon, the streets learned a rule of survival. You don't mess with Mike Tyson. It was in a juvenile detention center that fate finally stepped in. A counselor noticed something, the way Mike moved the fire behind his eyes. He wasn't just angry. He was powerful. That spark lit the path to a meeting that would change boxing forever. Cus D'Amato, a man who didn't just train fighters, he built legends. D'Amato saw in Mike what the world had overlooked. Not a troubled kid, but raw destiny waiting to be shaped. He took him in, gave him structure, discipline, and something Mike had never known, family. Under Cus' watchful eye, the boy from Brownsville became something more than human, a weapon forged in fire and fear. And when Mike finally stepped into the professional ring at just 18, the world wasn't ready. March 6, 1985, he made his professional debut against Hector Mercedes. 2 minutes. That's all it took. 2 minutes for a kid from Brooklyn to announce his arrival to the world. Every punch was thunder, every movement a message. This wasn't just boxing, it was violence refined into art. And fight after fight, Tyson didn't just win, he devoured. Bodies hit the canvas faster than the commentators could keep up. In just over a year, he fought 19 times, 19 wins, 19 knockouts. It was as if a force of nature had entered the heavyweight division. By 1986, the myth was already building. Broad shoulders, explosive speed, and eyes that burned with quiet rage. A predator in black trunks, no robe. No socks, no showmanship, just destruction. The world started calling him Iron Mike. But those who watched him closely knew the iron wasn't just in his fists. It was in his will. Then came the night that changed everything. November 22nd, 1986. Las Vegas, the WBC Heavyweight Championship. Across the ring stood Trevor Berbick, the man who once beat Ollie. Tyson didn't care about history. He was there to rewrite it. 2 rounds later, Berbick was down. Not once, not twice, but 3 times from a single combination. He stumbled across the ring like a man trying to escape a dream. The referee waved it off. At just 20 years old, Mike Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion in boxing history. But he wasn't finished. He wanted everything. Every belt, every name, every man brave enough to stand across from him. Within a year, he tore through the heavyweight division, unifying the WBA, WBC, and IBF titles in brutal fashion. The youngest, the fastest, the most feared. Larry Holmes gone. Tony Tucker gone. Michael Spinks gone in just 91 seconds. That Spinks fight became mythic. No hesitation, no wasted motion. Tyson marched forward like a hitman on a deadline, and one clean right hand ended it before the round could even settle. The world had never seen anything like it. Tyson wasn't just a champion. He was a storm in human form. Power, precision, pure intimidation. Fans didn't wonder if he'd win, only how fast. By the late 80s, he stood alone, the youngest undisputed heavyweight champion in history, the highest paid boxer on the planet, and a global icon. But while the world saw dominance, inside, the foundation was cracking. Cus D'Amato, the mentor, the father figure, the compass, was gone. And without him, Tyson's empire had no center. The fame, the fortune, the chaos, they didn't elevate him, they swallowed him. The storm he once unleashed on opponents had turned inward. At his peak, Tyson didn't just live like a champion. He lived like an emperor. By 1988, he was earning over $30 million per fight, and Forbes ranked him among the highest-paid athletes on earth. Money poured in faster than he could spend it, and he spent it like a man trying to fill a void. His homes were palaces. A 21-room mansion in Connecticut. Marble floors, gold-plated fixtures, chandeliers that sparkled like title belts. Another estate in Maryland worth over $4.5 million, complete with indoor pools, a private gym, and even a recording studio. And that was just the beginning. Then came the cars, not just any cars, but rolling monuments to excess. A fleet of 5 Rolls-Royces, each one custom-built to scream status. The Rolls-Royce Corniche convertible, Tyson's favorite at the time, glided through Vegas like royalty on wheels. Then came the Bentley Continental T, a 6.75-liter beast, handcrafted in England, known for its brute torque and elegance. Tyson loved the way it combined luxury and aggression, just like him. Next, the Ferrari F50, one of the rarest supercars on Earth. Only 349 were ever made. Its V12 engine screamed at 8,000 revolutions per minute, the same sound Tyson called music for killers. And of course, the Lamborghini Diablo VT, the car every 90s superstar dreamed of. Low, wide, and dangerously loud. It cost him over $300,000, but to him, it was never about money. It was about dominance, even on the streets. Then there was the Jaguar XJ220, the crown jewel, the fastest car in the world at the time, capable of hitting 212 miles per hour. Tyson didn't just buy it. He made it a centerpiece, parking it under custom lighting in his mansion's garage like a museum piece. When he drove through Las Vegas, heads didn't just turn, traffic stopped. But Tyson wasn't just collecting cars. He was collecting symbols of power. He once purchased 3 Bengal tigers for $70,000 each, complete with a custom-built habitat and a full-time animal trainer who earned $125,000 a year. Those tigers weren't pets. They were living metaphors for the man himself. Beautiful, dangerous, untamed. And when it came to gifts, Tyson was as generous as he was reckless. He famously bought his first wife, Robin Givens, a 24-karat gold bathtub worth $2 million. He'd hand out luxury watches to friends and strangers, some worth $100,000 or more, just because he felt like it. One of his diamond-studded Rolexes alone was valued at over $400,000. His jewelry box shimmered like a small fortune. Thick gold chains, diamond bracelets, and championship rings that caught the light like tiny suns. He even had a private security guard whose full-time job was to walk around dressed in military gear, shouting guerrilla warfare for $300,000 a year. It was a life of extremes, excess on top of excess. For a boy who grew up with nothing, Tyson was now surrounded by too much of everything. The mansions, the cars, the animals, the gold. They were his trophies, but also his chains. The discipline that once defined Mike Tyson. The razor-sharp focus that turned him from a street kid into the youngest heavyweight champion in history began to fade. The entourage grew into an army. The parties never stopped. The money came in faster than anyone could count and disappeared just as quickly. Inside the ring, he was still a force of nature, ruthless, precise, unstoppable. But outside it, he was unraveling. Fame blurred into chaos. The structure that once kept him grounded was gone, replaced by noise, temptation, and manipulation. The tabloids circled like vultures, feeding on every headline, every scandal. His marriage to actress Robin Givens, once a fairy tale, became a public battleground. Every argument, every tear, every accusation played out on national television. The invincible Iron Mike suddenly looked human. And then came Tokyo, February 11th, 1990. The night the world stopped believing in invincibility. Across the ring stood Buster Douglas, a 42-1 underdog, a man nobody thought belonged there. Round after round, he absorbed Tyson's thunderous shots and answered back with precision and purpose. Then in the 10th round it happened. A right uppercut, a flurry of punches, and Iron Mike, the man who terrified an entire generation of fighters, hit the canvas. The referee counted to 10. The arena didn't cheer. It gasped. The king had fallen. It wasn't just a loss. It was destiny collecting its debt. The same fire that once forged him had finally turned inward, burning everything it touched. From there, his life spiraled into chaos. And in 1992, the headlines turned darker than ever. Convicted of rape, sentenced to 6 years in prison, the world watched the fall of a god. The man who once ruled the ring now sat behind bars, stripped of glory, freedom, and identity. To the public, he was a monster. But behind those cold, concrete walls, something unexpected began to take shape. Tyson, for the first time in his life, was alone with himself. No crowd, no entourage, no noise. He spent his days reading philosophy, studying history, exploring faith. He embraced Islam, and through discipline and introspection, began to understand the man behind the myth. And when he walked out 3 years later, he wasn't the same. He was still fierce, still hungry, but there was something new in his eyes. A calm beneath the chaos. A storm learning to listen to its own thunder. His comeback was explosive. 2 heavyweight titles reclaimed. Flashes of the old Tyson sending shockwaves through the sport once again. But peace, for men like him, is never permanent. The fire that built him still burned, and sometimes it burned out of control. Then came 1997. Evander Holyfield, the rematch the world had been waiting for. Tyson entered the ring not with the confidence of a champion, but with the desperation of a man trying to reclaim his soul. Holyfield fought with discipline and poise, breaking Tyson's rhythm, exposing the cracks in his control. And then, in a moment that would echo forever, Tyson snapped. He lunged forward and bit Holyfield's ear. The world froze. The referee stopped the fight. The crowd erupted, not in awe, but in shock. His license was revoked, and his reputation shattered overnight. He was no longer the hero. He was the villain. Mocked, banned, broken. But true legends don't disappear in disgrace. They rise through it. He came back once more, not as the invincible destroyer he once was, but as a man searching for redemption. He fought again, Francois Botha, Lou Savarese, flashes of the old fury, reminders of who he had been. But time is undefeated. And for the first time, Mike Tyson began to understand that the greatest battles were no longer fought inside the ring, but within himself. In 2005, Tyson stepped into the ring one last time. No belts, no glory, just a man closing a chapter that once shook the world. And when it was over, he didn't win, but for the first time, he looked at peace. When Mike Tyson finally stepped away from the ring, the world thought his story had ended. But the truth? It was only just beginning. Because the man who once destroyed opponents with his fists was now building something bigger with his mind. He retreated to the quiet desert lands of California, far from the noise of fame and the ghosts of his past. There, he began to rebuild his empire, not through punches but through purpose. In 2018, Tyson Ranch was born, a 420-acre paradise dedicated to wellness, cannabis, and clean living. The Tyson Ranch isn't just a business, it's a statement. Luxury cabins, glamping tents, a lazy river, music festivals, and of course, his premium cannabis line. Tyson turned marijuana into a lifestyle empire, drawing A-list celebrities, athletes, and investors to his vision. He created Tyson 2.0, a global cannabis brand with products sold across America and beyond. And here's the twist. The very thing that once almost destroyed him became his greatest comeback. Today, his cannabis brand is worth tens of millions, generating steady revenue every year. Tyson himself earns over $700,000 per month from the venture, not to mention endorsement deals, podcasts, and appearances. From the chaos of the ring to the calm of business, Iron Mike became a monk with a mansion. His lifestyle now, a mix of wild luxury and deep reflection. Tyson owns a lavish mansion in Las Vegas, filled with rare art, exotic pets, and memorabilia that tells his story. He cruises around in Rolls Royces and Ferraris, yet you'll often find him barefoot, meditating, or tending to his pigeons, the same creatures that once gave a lost kid from Brooklyn a sense of peace. Behind the legend, behind the roar, there's just a man, a father, a husband, a soul finally at peace. Today, Mike Tyson's life is quiet, grounded. He lives in Las Vegas with his wife, Lakia Spicer, and their 2 children. Their relationship wasn't born from the spotlight. It was forged through forgiveness, understanding, and love that survived the storms. To his kids, he's not Iron Mike. He's Dad. He cooks breakfast, cracks jokes, and drops lessons like punches, sharp but full of love. He often says his children are his true championship belts, the only trophies that matter. When he speaks now, there's weight in his words, the kind that comes from surviving everything and still choosing peace. He doesn't run from his past. He embraces it, because that pain became his teacher. That's what makes Mike Tyson's story so powerful. It's not just redemption. It's evolution. From the streets of Brooklyn to the peak of fame. From prison cells to penthouses. From rage to reflection. Every chapter carries a lesson. That no matter how far you fall, there's always a way back if you're willing to face yourself. Before you go, don't miss out on exclusive perks. Click the link in the description to become a channel member and enjoy awesome benefits, like suggesting future video topics, getting early access to new content 48 hours before anyone else, and much more. Your support means the world and helps us keep bringing you the stories you love. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe for more amazing content. And while you're here, why not check out our deep dive into how Manny Pacquiao spent his $220 million video? Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.